Hello, and welcome to the Personify Leadership Podcast, the podcast where we explore the transformative journeys of leaders who have embraced the principles of Personify Leadership to drive success within their own organizations. I'm your host, Michelle Cummings, the CEO and the Chief Creative Officer at Personify Leadership. In each episode, we'll dive deep into the stories of our clients, uncovering the challenges they faced, the strategies they implemented, and the incredible outcomes they achieved through our experiential leadership programs. From fostering effective communication to mastering delegation to having courageous conversations, our guests are going to share real world insights and practical tips that you can apply in your own leadership journey as well. Let's go check out who our distinguished guest is today. Good morning, Kim. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Michelle. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So, Kim, tell us a little bit about yourself and about Veolia as well.
Sure. I have been in the talent development space for a long time, and with Veolia for about 3.5 years at this point.
Okay.
And Veolia is an environmental services company, and they are global and headquartered in Paris. I work for the North American zone,
Okay.
and that's the US and Canada.
Okay.
And you may not have heard of Veolia. It's an amazing company. We align with the UN Sustainable Goals to try to create a circular economy. So reducing waste by finding alternate uses for energy waste, hazardous waste, and also water reclamation and waste. So yeah.
Great. Well, tell us a little bit about how you found Personify and kind of what drew you to the program.
Certainly. So I found out about Personify because I had an interaction with you in
Mhm.
another class called the Experiential Facilitation 101. And that was the first time that really opened my eyes to the possibility of not having games in learning, just so that
Mhm.
people are moving around and having fun and doing something besides sitting and learning,
Yeah.
but actual intentional activities that, as we talk about, surface those behaviors that are similar to what happened at work. And then we
Yeah.
can talk about it in this environment that's much more accessible than thinking about work and the theoretical and just really making that real.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. That's one thing that we love about the experientials is that they do that. They surface the behavior that we really want to teach skills in, but it's done in such a way that people are having fun while they're learning and it's not death by PowerPoint and actually people are excited about going back and telling others about the training afterwards because because they were having fun while they were learning.
exactly. Although I do tell them when you go back, you can tell them you had great time. You can
Oh,
tell them you
yes.
did these activities, but this is Vegas. You can't tell the shortcuts. I want people to
Exactly.
experience it the first time. So
Right.
we've got Vegas going on in the
Right.
in the
Like, don't give
learning
away the
space.
secrets, but at the same time, you can say, oh my goodness, I had a great time and this is what I learned. And this is why I actually, had a good time. So,
Exactly, exactly. Yes.
um,
So then that brought me to, through that experience with you for, EF 101 is you showed me about the Personify program, and we were looking for a solution for our new managers that really was something that was innovative and unique because who wants to just sit there and so I looked at this, and it's actually great, Michelle, for our workforce because it's so diversified. We have people who manage very frontline people that are sorting batteries, all the way up to professionals, lab scientists, salespeople, the entire gamut.
mm,
And so this is really a very kind of levels the playing field by
mm.
putting people out there in those experientials.
Yeah, excellent. Well, so how has, like, now that you've delivered, I know, multiple programs in the organization, what are some of the ripple effects that you've kind of seen happening in the organization?
Well, we have some. We haven't penetrated as much as I would like. We're pretty large as far as in the North American zone. We have about approaching 10,000 employees, and that's about 1,500 to 2,000 managers.
Mm,
And that means that my groups, my small groups, it's taking a little bit of time.
Time,
But
yeah.
what we have noticed is that they are much more, it connects them very quickly.
Mm.
And it causes them to have this network because they went through this together. And then we have the opportunity to continue on because this is the start of our program. We actually continue on virtually for a few months.
Mm-hmm.
And this gives us that really tight-knit network that they can constantly go back to and to talk. Remember when we talked about this
Mm.
when, in Personify when we were in Chicago, that's where we
Yeah.
hold it.
Yeah.
And so that's one effect. The other effect is, man, those anchor tools with the body parts really have caused people to be mindful of whatever they wanted to focus on.
Yes.
I have someone who he squeezes his ear every time he's on a conference call or a Google meeting or what have you. He squeezes his ear. So he's like,
Yeah.
cat, don't talk, wait,
Yeah.
don't interrupt.
Just to remind himself to be a good listener, right? So we have, of course, we have our different body parts anchor the 8 competencies that we teach in the course. And so, and each participant gets to go home with one of these, and they get to self-select which one of the competencies that they most want to work on when they get back. So this is what he's referring to as the stress reliever ear. It probably sits very close to his desk, or he takes it with him to meetings, and then just kind of hangs on to it to remind himself to listen first, then before we speak, right? Yeah.
Yes, 100%, 100%. In fact, here's my newest one from the deep dive program. Here's my foot. It's hanging out right here to remind me to be accountable and to walk the walk. So
excellent. I love it. That's great. So what is one of your like favorite things about facilitating Personify? I know you've run a few groups now and have had some success. So what's one of your favorite parts about facilitating the program?
I love two things come to mind. The first one is I love as a facilitator, my favorite thing is when people have those aha moments. You can see that light go on and their eyes are like, that makes sense to me. I've never thought of it that way. Or man, that's, I got to write that down. And there's so many of those moments in Personify Leadership that happen. A lot of them are in the experientials, right? Especially, there's a few key activities. I don't know if you want me to mention them specifically, but love those moments. And then also that there is a structure with the body part competencies that really aligns them very easily to know where we're going, and then to be able to refer back and remember, oh, that's in this section, and having those visual body parts really helps with that. I hit my mute button by accident.
No worries, no worries.
With my enthusiasm about the program, I hit my mute button. So those are the two parts of the structure and the aha moments. That's just my favorite thing, is to see people get that.
Yeah. One reason why we chose a simplistic model, like using parts of the body metaphorically, is that it's not complicated to remember when you get back into the real world. There's no 4-letter acronyms. There's nothing so complex about it that you can't remember what you learned. And then when you go back into the workplace, I mean, you're walking around with the tools literally with you, literally and figuratively every single day. And, and really it goes along with the message that leadership is not reserved for just an elite few. I mean, it's accessible to anyone at all levels of the organization, even our frontline leaders. They're leaders in the organization. They're representing us, and they too need this, a same level of awareness, self-awareness, and of the competencies and how to excel as a leader in any organization.
Mm-hmm. The other thing too that I didn't mention, but the way that the program is written, there's continuity. So like there's a model that we use in the voice module that, the Moravian model about, messages and communication. We bring that back up in the ears module when we talk about listening. We have an activity in the voice module that really illustrates how there's different levels of the different levels in an organization of,
Yeah.
the executives and middle management and frontline workers. And then that comes back when we talk in the spine model about
Right.
when you're stuck kind of in the middle as that middle manager. So that continuity really helps that make them connect the dots
Sure.
and have more of those aha moments, which is, again, the part that I love.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Excellent. So, Kim, I know that you were handpicked and selected by me to come and participate in our deep dive pilot. So, we've got a new program coming out that is kind of the part two to the Personify core program. So, any insights from your experience with our recent pilot of our deep dive program that you could share with others?
It was just last week, so this is fresh in my mind.
Exactly.
Yes. So I like that the deep dive uses those same body part competency, those, and have those anchor tools, will have that structure that again helps people remember. And going into a more comprehensive look at it. So, yes, it's important, for example, as a leader, that you listen. And yes, it's important that you communicate a message that others can, that resonates with others. But then in the deep dive, we say, okay, let's place all of your communication skills and your listening skills to the very, very important leadership job of feedback.
Hmm.
One of the primary things that leaders, I feel, it's one of their primary jobs. Like, no one's going to get feedback from more people than they will from their manager.
Sure.
So you need to be good at it and you need to model it. So you need to be able to receive it as well. So I
Yeah.
liked how it went into literally a deeper application of, you can't just be a good listener, you need to also receive feedback. You can't just be a good communicator, you need to communicate feedback. So I liked that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, and
yeah.
there's one thing, there's a lot of great feedback programs out there. I mean, giving and receiving feedback has been talked about for, as long as there have been leaders, right?
Right?
And so, but one thing that we've noticed that a lot of those programs focus on giving feedback, and not very many of them focus on how to receive feedback. So that's one thing that we really try to give equal emphasis to is, yes, we need to know how to give good feedback to others. But it's also important to understand we also need to receive feedback and model that well, as you mentioned. So you actually chose the feat of a leader and accountability as your competency that you wanted to go back and kind of focus on a little bit more. Can you tell a little bit more about why you chose that competency?
Certainly. It was mostly related to my let me go back. So when I went through the core program, I chose the eye of a leader. So
Okay.
vision
Yeah.
and going more at, yes, you need to execute on your vision. You need to have a plan, you need to go forward. So I felt that this choosing the foot in the deep dive was continuing on
Oh,
to,
yeah.
okay, you need to have accountability now to that vision, to those activities, to that plan. And I have a tendency to procrastinate.
Okay.
And so, and most of the time it's because I get in this ideation space
Mm.
and I'm like, oh, I could make this better and I could do this and I could try this. And then finally at the end of the day, you need to do.
Good.
So you need to
Uh-huh.
execute. So the foot is really helping me remember about that accountability to myself and to what I want to achieve.
Ah, that's fantastic. I love that you connected the two. That's really, really great.
Mhm.
So, all right. Well, Kim, what would you tell others that are maybe thinking about investing in Personify? Why should other people give this program a look and invest in Personify Leadership?
Certainly. It was a good investment for us and I think for other people because it's an end-to-end program.
Mm.
It has all of the materials that you'll need. It has again that continuity that I talked about earlier of having models and activities that link together. And you're not having to cobble together a program from a lot of different pieces and create something that resonates with people and actually has some impact. The other thing is that I appreciate that there's some science behind it. There's a lot of resources that are cited.
Mm.
And to some of my folks that's important to them, right? To others, they're like, let's go, let's have fun. But others like, really, why should I trust you? Why
Mm.
should I trust this? And so I will say there's in your participant guide, there are a lot of different references. If you want to go deeper and look at those. And of course, the experientials, I can't emphasize that enough because, I use activities in other programs that I do, but sometimes I struggle with, okay, I want to surface this behavior in my Rolodex in my brain.
Sure.
Which activities should I use? And I don't have to decide that. It's all
Mm.
packaged in within the program of the content, the activities, the anchor tools, even the pre-work that they do ahead of time, getting them and their manager on the same page of
Mm.
let's prepare for what you're going to learn and where should you focus. And sometimes that's the first time they have one of those conversations of aligning on that. So I would recommend that an investment in Personify Leadership will definitely give you a program that you'll have results and people will be talking about for a long time.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Well, Kim, thank you so much for being a champion for us and for volunteering your time to come on and share a little bit about your experience with us and how it's impacting your leaders at Veolia. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Go out there and learn, people.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode of Leaders Personified. I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to our guests for sharing their inspiring journey and valuable insights on how Personify Leadership has impacted their organization. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. Your feedback helps us bring more inspiring stories to leaders like you. For more information about Personify Leadership and how we can help you develop essential leadership skills, visit our website at www.personifyleadership.com. Join us next time as we continue to explore the transformative power of leadership and hear more success stories from leaders who are making a difference. Until then, keep leading with heart, and remember, leadership is not a position or a title. It is an action and example. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode of Leaders Personified.